Welcome to Canada Unfiltered, your go-to source for candid discussions about politics. We expose what those in power try to hide. Subscribe now to uncover the true face of power.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has made headlines with a major announcement: the appointment of a new slate of ministers and MLAs to serve on her government's cabinet policy committees. These groups are now positioned to shape the direction of Alberta's economic, legislative, and social priorities for the foreseeable future. Among the many names announced, some appointments stand out not just for their political weight, but for what they suggest about the government's evolving priorities. One of the most noteworthy is Jason Steffen, MLA for Red Deer South, who has been named Parliamentary Secretary for Constitutional Affairs. This newly emphasized position isn't just symbolic. It reflects a deeper ideological strategy that has been emerging within Premier Smith's United Conservative Party over the past few years. According to Steffen, the role is about defending Alberta's rights under the Constitution. He stated, "The Constitution of Canada is to provide a check and balance against abuse of power by government and protect Alberta from destructive overreach by the federal government." These words are strong and deeply political. While they echo frustrations held by many Albertans, especially in relation to federal policies on energy, taxation, and regulation, they also represent unilateral interpretation of Canada's complex federal structure. Under Canada's Constitution, the federal government and provinces share jurisdiction over various matters. But the final arbiter in disputes is a judiciary, not political declarations. Steffen's framing suggests a confrontational posture that could escalate tensions between Alberta and Ottawa, particularly if it leads to legal or legislative action against federal mandates. This development builds on past moves by Smith's government, notably the controversial Sovereignty within a United Canada Act. That legislation asserted Alberta's right to ignore certain federal laws it deems harmful. The act has faced widespread criticism from constitutional experts who argue that it lacks legal foundation and could destabilize federal-provincial relations. By institutionalizing a parliamentary secretary role around the same theme, the government appears to be entrenching this adversarial stance into its policy-making infrastructure. Looking more broadly at the cabinet policy committees, the appointments include prominent ministers like Brian Jean, Nate Horner, Mickey Amery, and Tanya Furr, spread across committees focused on economic development, community infrastructure, and public safety. Premier Smith herself chairs the Productivity Review Cabinet Committee, signaling her hands-on involvement in shaping economic efficiency and internal reforms. However, despite the breadth of these committees, there is little public information about how they will function. No detailed mandates have been published. There are no public benchmarks, goals, or deliverables attached to the committees. This raises legitimate concerns about transparency and accountability. Public policy decisions affect millions of people, from funding allocations to health system changes to environmental regulation. Without clear metrics or reporting obligations, these new structures risk becoming closed decision-making circles, accountable more to the Premier's office than to public. Even the committee names themselves carry ideological undertones. Take Alberta First, for instance. While it's framed as a patriotic commitment to Alberta's interests, the name closely resembles nationalist or protectionist slogans that have been used in polarizing contexts elsewhere. It implies a worldview in which Alberta must constantly guard itself against outside interference, particularly from the federal government. This framing, while appealing to the UCP base, may alienate other Albertans who support cooperative federalism. In the area of economic development, the committee includes ministers responsible for affordability, agriculture, forestry, and technology. While these are undeniably important portfolios, the lack of accompanying policy detail makes it difficult to evaluate the seriousness of the strategy. Are we looking at an investment-oriented, forward-looking economic plan, or simply an effort to cut regulation and taxes? The answer is unclear, and no public roadmap has been provided to guide citizens' expectations. The same ambiguity applies to the Committee on Public Safety and Wellness. Its mandate appears to blend traditional law enforcement with healthcare services, such as addictions and mental health. This could be efficient in theory, but it also raises red flags. Critics have long warned against the criminalization of social and public health issues. Without safeguards, There's a risk that the justice system could be used to manage problems that should be addressed through community care and public health investment. Moreover, the government claims that the new committee appointments reflect the diversity of experiences of its MLAs. But all committee members are from a united conservative party. There is no representation from opposition parties, indigenous leaders, municipal voices, or civil society groups. This approach reinforces a perception that policymaking is becoming increasingly centralized and ideologically uniform. Adding to this concern is the lack of any public consultation or input prior to these appointments. It's not clear whether any external stakeholders were involved in setting up the committees, nor whether Albertans will have channels to provide feedback. For a government that claims to prioritize freedom and transparency, this process has been remarkably opaque. Even within the Treasury Board and Legislative Review Committees, arguably the two most powerful groups in the government, there is little visible independence or diversity of perspective. These committees are responsible for reviewing legislation, budgeting billions of dollars, and scrutinizing government action. This raises an important question. Who is watching the watchers? In a functioning democracy, oversight must be more than internal, without external accountability. Through media scrutiny, opposition participation, or civic engagement, governance becomes vulnerable to groupthink and partisan blind spots. To be clear, reconfiguring government committees is not unusual. Every administration does it. The problem here is not the act of restructuring itself, but the lack of clarity and transparency surrounding it, combined with the overt political messaging embedded in the appointments. When a government places constitutional confrontation at the heart of its policymaking machinery, it should be clear about what that entails. When it appoints partisan loyalists to all positions of oversight, it should explain how it will ensure integrity and balance. And when it claims to act on behalf of all Albertans, it must show how it includes those who didn't vote for it. Premier Smith's reorganization may very well streamline governance. It may empower MLAs and drive key policy outcomes. But at the same time, it appears to further entrench ideological lines, centralize decision-making, and exclude a wide range of Albertan voices. For Albertans, the stakes are high. These committees will influence how your taxes are spent, how your rights are protected, and how your future is shaped. So the question becomes, is this truly a more efficient, effective government, or is it the beginning of a more insular, politically driven era of policymaking? Let us know what you think. Stay critical. Stay informed.
Thank you for taking the time to watch Canada Unfiltered. We truly appreciate your support. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing and liking our videos. We encourage you to join the conversation with us as we explore various topics that matter to Canadians. Remember, Canada Unfiltered is all about staying informed, reacting to important issues, and speaking up for what you believe in. Let's engage in meaningful discussions together.